Welcome. This is the Retire Mentality, and if this is your first time coming by the channel, thank you very much. And if you are returning, we really appreciate that. Thanks for coming back. As today's theme, work harder to get smarter so that you can work smarter and not harder. Educating yourself is the key to all of this, and the more you know, the easier this will be. Reading things about people's mistakes, reading about people's successes, reading motivational books, reading investment books, all of these things are going to help in your journey. As you may or may not know, I live in the Virgin Islands, and so far we haven't had very many things shut down because of the coronavirus. Well, all of our stores, restaurants, bars, those types of things are shut down. The major things, grocery stores, our Home Depot is open, our Kmart has been open, but most importantly, our beaches have been open. All of our public areas have been open. They told us not to congregate in big crowds, but as of Monday, they finally did it. They shut all of our beaches down. They shut everything down. So now I am with the rest of you going a little bit stir crazy. I've already started my pseudo quarantine beard growing here. And since we all have a little bit more time on our hands, I thought this might be a good time to talk about some good books to read. Since you're stuck at home, I've got a few ideas for investing books, personal finance books, real estate books. I'm just going to go over a couple books. I'm not going to go too far into each one. You can read them for yourself. But I wanted to touch on a few books that I think would be great for you to further your real estate or investing or personal finance growth. So without further ado, here are my tips on what books you should read. Okay, I'm going to start out with two books that are basically on everybody's list of finance or personal finance books that everybody has to read. You may have read them, you may not have read them, especially if you're new to this whole personal finance or the FIRE movement or real estate investing or investing at all. But the first one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is timeless. It was first published in 1937 during the Great Depression. So what better time than to read it now during the coronavirus and this new little economic dip that we've got going on here. We'll see if this turns into a recession, a depression, or where this goes. But this is a great book to read to just kind of change your mentality on money. It was Andrew Carnegie's idea for him to write this book. And he spent 20 years studying and following around and interviewing successful people of that time, including Andrew Carnegie himself. It's actually one of the most, if not the most successful business book written of all time. It sold over 15 million copies. And what Hill found was, after studying and following all these successful people around, he found things that he found 16 things he called laws that he further breaks down into principles. And these principles are things that you can actually implement into your life. So it's a great book to just kind of wrap your mind around how you actually think about money and how to grow rich from there. Basically, the title says it all. I'm one of these people who believes in a title should tell you exactly what the book or the blog post or the YouTube video or whatever is all about. And the first one that we start off with here is a great example of that. So if you are new to reading finance books or real estate books or personal finance investing type books, this is where you start. This was the first book that I read when I started getting into these things. And it's a really great starting point. So I highly suggest Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Okay, if you've already read that book or after you read that book, the next place you should go is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know everybody says you have to read this book, but if you haven't read it, it's a great book to read, especially early in your exploration or education of yourself. This is another one of the best-selling books of all time. Robert Kiyosaki and Susan, somebody I can't remember her name, helped write the book. But basically the gist of the book is how Kiyosaki grew up and the kind of the wealth mindset that his dad had versus the wealth mindset of his best friend. And one of them was sort of work for the company and save up and get your pension and retire, which is kind of the wealth mindset that my father had. And then the wealth mindset of his friend, whose dad was super rich and just had a whole different outlook on how money affected your life and how to invest and buying assets. Most people get a job and buy the $50,000 car and the house they can't afford, whereas sort of the wealthy mindset is to kind of delay gratification and buy the assets and let the assets work for you and let the assets pay for your lifestyle, which is it's a game changer. That's really what you need to be thinking about in your investing future. So this is a great place to begin if you're just starting down that road. Even if you're partway down, midway down the road, it's a great thing to just look at the different wealth mindsets that people have. That's sort of the gist of this book. That's how I can afford to live here in the Caribbean. My rental properties back in the States pay for me to live here. So, I mean, that's the only way you can do it, is having, if you want to not work for the rest of your life, you either need to start a business or you need to buy assets that can have cash flow. He talked about how cash flow is more important than net worth, which I think the two kind of go hand in hand, but focusing on your net worth is sort of a bragging point, and focusing on cash flow is where you can free yourself of the working for somebody else and free up the time in your life to actually live the life worth living, as my logo says in the beginning. So Think and Grow Rich is number 2 on my list. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's an easy to read book. It's kind of another entry-level book. It's even a great book to give to your kids or to give to younger people, for them to sort of get the idea of personal finance, of financial freedom, those kind of things. Just really understanding money. It's another kind of money 101 type of book. It's super easy to read. It's set up in small stories, kind of like parables. So it's easily relatable and it's easy to get the concepts of the book. It's also great for people who are looking to get out of debt or to start investing. Like I say, just to begin your personal finance journey. If you've been investing for a while, some of this may seem common sense, but that's the reason people have coaches. That's the reason people read books. A lot of it is just to kind of kick you in the pants and remind you what you're supposed to be doing. So it's another good book. Like I say, it's a little more on the entry-level side, but The Richest Man in Babylon is my third choice. And it's great, like I say, if you want to give it to your kids or someone else, it'd make a great gift also to get people thinking about personal finance. Okay, let's level up one notch here. The next book that I want to recommend is called The Smartest Retirement Book You'll Ever Read. For a guy like me who loves long titles and titles that tell you exactly what the book is about, this is a good one. I always have a hard time with my blog post titles or my YouTube video titles, because I like titles like this that are tell you exactly what you're in for, tell you exactly what you're going to get, but then I think they're too long or they're too wordy. So anyway, I appreciate a good descriptive title. The last book that I mentioned was more geared towards maybe younger readers or people just starting out. This is the opposite. This is geared more towards people to kind of pick this book up when you're getting close to that retirement in your life. I'm not going to say retirement age, because you might be retired when you're 30 or you might be retiring when you're 60. But if you're getting close to that milestone, this is a good book to pick up and read. It's got practical advice and tips in the book. It's written a little bit more for the lay person, somebody who has a general knowledge of investing and the concepts for the retirement that they're getting close to, but not somebody who's a super savvy investor who spent their whole life, studying the concept of time value of money and that sort of thing. But this is a great one maybe to give to your parents if they're getting close to retirement age, or for yourself to just read up. And like I say, it's small, easy to digest little chapters that this is another book that's very broad. So everybody's going to get 2 or 3 great tips out of this book. So it's a great book to spend a little bit of time and read as well. Okay, the next book that I want to talk about is for people who are just thinking about getting into investing in real estate. Again, another great title. It's called First Time Landlord, A Guide to Renting Out Single-Family Homes. This is a good book for anybody who's just kind of thinking about buying a rental property, or sometimes people become landlords by default. Either you inherit a house, or you buy a duplex and you're going to rent out the other side, or even if you just want to house hack a room in your house that you already have. This is a great book for that. It goes over all of the basic concepts that you need: marketing, managing rental income, maintenance of the property, important tax deductions, and even an extra exit strategy if you decide you want to get out of the rental business or the rental property that you may have bought. It goes over those concepts. So this is great for somebody who either just became a landlord or is considering it, and these are great concepts for you to go over. It's basically the nuts and bolts of being a landlord, so it's a great book for people looking to go down that road. And the last book that I want to talk about, keeping with my theme of nice, great, long titles, is called The Behavior Gap and How to Stop Doing Dumb Things with Your Money. This one kind of runs the gamut. It's good for the noobs, it's good for the pros, it's good for everybody in between. It's easy to read. It's kind of geared more towards the financial side of things. So if you're leaning more into wanting to get into the stock market or index funds or mutual funds or managing your 401k or just anything over more on the financial side of things rather than the real estate side of things, I thought I'd put this one in there. With the way the stock market is right now, it's a great time to be looking at getting into the market, which is something that I'm doing. And as a real estate investor, I don't have a lot of knowledge on that side, so I'm looking for books to pick up to give me a little bit more of that investment knowledge that I don't have. It's kind of all about just consistent buying into the stock market, tips like that, and how your investment's past performance has nothing to do with what its future performance will be. You know, kind of how hindsight is trying to second guess investments you made or you could have made, or I should have bought this when it was here. Kind of goes over some strategies to help you avoid those pitfalls. Those are a lot of things that will get you stumbling in your investment career. As I'm starting out right now, you know, we're in the coronavirus dip here right now, and I was going to buy at the bottom. I don't know if I missed it. If I didn't miss it, everybody's got different thoughts on the idea. But if I would have dollar cost averaged my investments as the market was going down, like I said I was going to do, I would have been a lot better off than after I said that. I kept watching it go down, and I thought, well, I'll wait a little bit longer. And now it's up 10% from where it was a week ago. So these books can teach you these things that our brains need to be trained out of. Even if I'm not an expert, I think I am so smart. Sometimes I need to just use the principles. Oh, there's a bug flying around in here. We need to use the principles, and this is a good book for that, to teach you some of those principles. And since we're talking about the stock market and investing, this is the perfect time to talk about, if you want to get 2 free stocks, you can use my Webull account at the bottom. Webull is a great app you can just download right onto your phone to invest in stocks. And when you sign up and then you deposit like $100 into your account, you'll get 2 free stocks. I'll also get 2 free stocks, so it's a win-win for everybody. The 2 free stocks that I got, the first one was worth around $2. It's a bank, it's a European bank. And then the second stock, I think everybody gets the same stocks. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you or not tell you. But the second stock you get's worth around $12. I got it like a week ago. I've been doing this for 2 weeks now with my stock market investing. And when they gave it to me, it was worth $12, and now it's worth $16. And actually, it's a really good company. I just bought more shares of it, and it's up about 12% from when they gave it to me. So if you want to start dabbling in the stock market, get the Webull app. It's a lot of fun. You have a watch list. You can have paper money. They give you funny money you can play with for stock investing. You can use your own money. I've got about 10 stocks that I've invested in. I'm going to do another video to show you the stocks that I've been investing in, show you my record of how I'm doing. I'm up on some, I'm down on some. I made some huge gambles that didn't pay off. So you can learn from some of my mistakes there as well. I'll put descriptions to all the books below. They'll take you right to Amazon. You can read what Amazon and what reviewers have to say about the books, and if you're interested in buying them, you'll have the link right there. I'm also going to put a link to Audible. Some of these books are available on Audible, and if you're not a reader, I'm a very slow reader. It's hard for me to read, so I do like to listen to things on audiobook. So I'm going to put a link to the Audible. You can try it out for free as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming by, and if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. And if you found value in this video, please hit the like button, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, everybody, and I'll see you soon.